Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Shiza Yas from Department of Botany, Division of Science and Technology, University of Education, Township, Lahore. And the topic for today's lecture is the treatment of sewage sludge and polluted water. Sewage sludge, as we all know, that it is the residual semi-solid material that is produced as a byproduct during the sewage treatment of industrial or the municipal wastewater. So the term septage also referred to the sludge from the simple wastewater treatment, but it is connected to the simple on-site sanitation systems such as septic tanks. So sewage sludge treatment describes the processes which are used to manage and dispose of sewage sludge produced during the sewage treatment. Sludge is mostly water with a lesser amount of the solid material removed from the liquid sewage. So the primary sludge include all the settlable solids which are removed during the primary treatment in the primary clarifiers. Secondary sludge separated in the secondary clarifier includes treated sewage sludge from the secondary treatment bioreactors. So the sewage sludge treatment is focused on reducing the sludge weight and volume to reduce the disposal costs. Reducing potential health risk of the disposal option is also a major cause for creating such type of pollution in our atmosphere, as a result of which water removal is a primary means of weight and volume reduction, while pathogen destruction is frequently accomplished through heating during the thermophilic digestion, composting, or the incineration processes. So the choice of the sludge treatment methods depend on the volume of the sludge generated and comparison of the treatment costs. Energy recovered. Energy may be recovered from the sludge through the methane gas production during anaerobic digestion or through the incineration of the dried sludge, just like the drying bed of the sludge, which I have already explained in my previous lecture about the lectures of tanneries. So how that treatment plant, primary treatment plant, has been established into the Qusur, and they have a separate dumping area for the sludge disposal. So the energy yield is often insufficient to evaporate the sludge water content and to power the blowers, pumps, or centrifuge requires for dewatering processes. So the first, there are many treatment processes in order to treat the sewage sludge systems, that may be thickening, dewatering, digestion, anaerobic digestion, aerobic digestion, composting, incineration, and the drying bed. So let's start with the first treatment process, which is called as thickening. Thickening is often the first step in the sludge treatment process. Sludge from the primary or the secondary sludges may be stirred often after addition of clarifying agents to form the larger, more rapidly settling aggregates. So all of this has been carried out into a large mechanical machinery in which there is a settlable material along with the addition of clarifying agents to form the settled larger sediments or the sludge aggregates. So the primary sludge may be thickened to about 8 to 10% solids, while the secondary sludge may be thickened to about 4% solids only. So the thickeners often resembles a clarifier with the addition of a stirring mechanism. Thickened sludge with less than 10% solid may receive additional sludge treatment, while the liquid thickener, so the overflow, is returned to the sewage treatment processes. So this is the unit to make all the sludge treatment process. The second process for the treatment, which is used to treat the sewage sludge, is the dewatering. Dewatering, like water content of the sludge, may be reduced by the different physical processes like centrifugation, filtration, evaporation to reduce the transpiration cost of the disposal. So the schematic belt filter press to dewater sewage sludge. So the filtrate is extracted initially by gravity, then by squeezing the cloth through the rollers. So the sludge treatment technologies that are used for thickening or dewatering of the sludge have two products, like the thickened or the dewatered sludge, a liquid fraction which is called as a sludge semi-solid liquid material, and the sludge dewatering streams. Digestion. Many sludge are treated using a variety of digestion techniques, like the purpose of which is to reduce the amount of organic matter. So the number of disease-causing microbes present in the solids will also help to enhance the digestion process. The most common treatment option may include anaerobic digestion, aerobic digestion, and composting, which can be carried out by a very large number of the microbes or the microorganisms. So the sludge digestion offers significant cost advantage by reducing the sludge quantity by nearly 50% and producing a biogas as a valuable energy source. So the anaerobic digestion is a bacterial process that is carried out in the absence of oxygen and mean absence. So this process can be either thermophilic digestion, in which sludge is fermented in the tanks at a high temperature of 55 degrees centigrade, or it can also be a mesophilic digestion with a temperature of around 36 degrees centigrade. So the thermophilic digestion is more expensive in terms of energy consumption for heating of the sludges. So the sludge fed into the large tanks and held for a minimum of 12 days to allow the digestion process to perform the four stages necessary to digest the sludges. And these four stages are like hydrolysis, acetogenesis, and the methanogenesis. Hydrolysis, like it is a two-stage process combining high pressure boiling of the waste or the sludges followed by a rapid decompression. So this combined action sterilizes the sludge and makes it more biodegradable, which improves the digestion performance. Acetogenesis is the second stage in the four stages of the anaerobic digestion, and a biological reaction where volatile fatty acids are converted into the acetic acid, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen molecules is the procedure to carry out all of this methodology for the treatment of the anaerobic digestion process. While acetogenesis, it is a process through which acetate is produced either by the reduction of carbon dioxide or by the reduction of organic acids. So the different bacterial species that are capable of acetogenesis are collectively termed as acetogens. The last stage is called as methanogenesis, as the name indicating. Its another name is also called as biomethanation, which is the formation of methane by the microbes are known as methanogens. So the organisms which are capable of producing methane have been identified only from the Archaea group, which is a phylogenetically distinct group from both the eukaryotes and the bacteria, although many live in close association with the anaerobic bacteria. Further, the step 5 is the aerobic digestion. Like it is a bacterial process occurring in the presence of oxygen, resembling a continuation of the activated sludge process. So under these conditions, the bacteria rapidly consume organic matter and convert it into finally the carbon dioxide. Once there is a lack of organic matter, bacteria die and are used as food by many other bacteria, and this stage of the process is known as endogenous bacteria. So the aerobic digestion can also be achieved by using the diffuse system or the jet aerators or to oxidize the sludge. If you look on the primary treatment plant, which is located at the KTWMA, in the first legion there is the processing of all the wastewater and the sewage sludge, and they have set up large aerator that run continuously on electrical to consume the electricity, or this process is also run by a heavy generator which consume a larger amount of the energy. So that generator help to maintain the BOD of both that lagoons or both that systems containing all the sludges and the effluent. So next is called as composting, which is an anaerobic process of mixing sewage sludge with agricultural byproduct source of carbon such as sawdust, straw or wood chips. In the presence of oxygen, bacteria digesting both the sewage sludge and the plant material generate heat to kill disease-causing microorganisms and the parasites. So the maintenance of anaerobic condition with 10 to 15% oxygen requires bulking agent allowing air to circulate through the fine sludge solids. So the stiff material like the corn cobs, nut-shells, shredded tree pruning waste or the bark from the lumber or the paper mills better separate the sludge for ventilation than the softer leaves and the lawn clippings. So after a composting interval sufficient for pathogen reduction, composted piles may be screened to recover the undigested bulking agents for further reusable process. Incineration of the sludge is less common because of the air emission concerns and the supplemental fuel required to burn the low calorie value of the sludge and vaporize the residual water. So on a dry solid basis, the fuel value of the sludge may vary from about 9500 British thermal units per pound, which is equivalent to the 980 calorie per gram of the undigested sewage sludge, to about 2500 British thermal units per pound, which is equivalent to the 260 calorie per gram of digested primary sludge. So can you imagine, this is a huge amount of the fuel which is used which is needed to incinerate all a very big volume of all the processed sewage sludge. So there are many multiple incinerators with the sewage sludge after drying in a sludge drying bed. High resistance time and the fluidized bed incinerators are the most common systems which are used to combust the wastewater sludge. Last treatment process is called as the drying bed. The simple evaporative sludge drying bed normally describes like the consistency of the primary sludge being discharged from the primary settling tank while the pipe in the foreground uncovered. So the drying beds are typically composed of 4 layers consisting of gravel, coarse gravel and the sand. The first layer is coarse gravel, which is about 15 to 20 centimeters thick, and this layer is followed by the fine gravel layer that is 10 centimeter thick. The third layer is sand that can be between 10 to 15 centimeter, and it serves as the filter between the sludge and the gravel. So the sludge dries up and water percolates to the first layer that is collected at the drainage pipe that is beneath all that layer is present. So 3 emerging technologies are including the anaerobic digestion, advanced oxidation processes and the membrane technology, which holds great promise to provide the international alternatives for manifold of WW wastewater treatment process and distribution systems to mitigate the contaminants and meet the acceptable limitations. Among the most common emerging technology is the disposal of the sludge, and after the disposal once it would be clear from all type of toxic heavy metals and the pollutant, it can be used to fertilize the soil completely. after rotation cycle of 3 to 4 rotation cycles of the crop. So when a liquid sludge is produced, further treatment may be required to make it suitable for the final disposal. So the sludges are disposed or used as fertilizer, typically thickened or dewatered to reduce the volume transported off-site for the disposal. So the processes for reducing water content including lagooning in the drying bed to produce a cake that can be applied to the land or incinerated, pressing where sludge is mechanically filtered often through the cloth screens to produce a firm cake, and certification where the sludge is thickened by centrifugally separating the solid and the liquid medium. So the sludge can be disposed of by the liquid injection to the land or by disposed finally into the landfill site, and which is this method is mostly followed by many of the leather tanning industries. Typical examples can be seen in case of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, where Edmonton Compositing Facility is the largest sewage composting site in case of North America. Polluted water. The next topic for today's discussion is called polluted water, or the water pollution that occurs when the harmful substances like often chemical and microorganisms contaminate a stream, a river, lake, ocean, or any other body of the water, degrading the water quality and rendering it too toxic to the humans for the or the environment is called as polluted water. So water is typically referred to as polluted when it is impaired by the anthropogenic contaminants. Due to these contaminants, it either does not support a human use such as drinking water or undergoes a marked shift in its ability to support its biotic communities. So the natural phenomena such as volcanoes, algae blooms, storms, earthquake also cause a major change in the water quality and the ecological status of the water. So industrial wastewater is the waste which is produced by the industrial activities, which include any material that is rendered useless during a manufacturing process such as that of the factories, industries, mills and various mining operations. So industrial waste can be the solid, liquid or the gaseous. It may be hazardous and non-hazardous. So there are different type of polluted water like sewage polluted water, nutrient polluted water, thermal polluted water, oil polluted water, creating the oil pollution, thermal pollution, industrial pollution, agricultural polluted water, heavy metal pollution and the floatables. So I have already explained one by one all of these types of pollution which are creating nuisance in our environment. And the floatable is the term which is defined for the litter that floats on the water surface. So they may include many plastics such as milk bottles, motor oil container, plastic grocery and the shopping bags is also a major cause of creating the polluted water in our atmosphere. There are many sources like battery manufacturing, organic chemical manufacturing, electric power plant, food industry, iron steel industry and nuclear industry, petroleum refining and petrochemical industries, paper and pulp manufacturing industry, textile dyeing, industrial oil contamination, water treatment and the wood preserving, wool processing. All of these are the major sources for polluting our water and degrading our water quality and the ecological status of our environment. Hazardous waste are the waste that has substantial and potential threats to the public health or the environment. Characteristic of hazardous waste are the materials that are known or tested to exhibit one or more of the following hazardous traits like ignitability. So any waste that creates a potential threat to the human health can be categorized as the hazardous waste. Mainly general effect of the polluted water, like in the humans, drinking or consuming polluted water in any way has many disastrous effects on our health, It caused typhoid, cholera, hepatitis, and various other diseases. Destruction of the ecosystem, like ecosystems are extremely dynamic and respond to even small changes in the environment. So the water pollution can cause an entire ecosystem to collapse if left unchecked. Then eutrophication, the chemicals in the water body encourages the growth of the algae, and these algae form a layer on the top of the pond or the lake. So the bacteria feed on this algae, and this decreases the amount of oxygen in the water body, severely affecting the aquatic life there. So actually the eutrophication is the over enrichment of various nutrients, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus, over our aquatic water body. Affects the food chain, like disruption in the food chain happens when the toxins and the pollutant in the water are consumed by aquatic animal like fish, shellfish and many other aquatic organisms, which are then consumed finally by the humans. So in this way they are creating problem for everything related to our atmosphere. So how we can treat this polluted water? Wastewater treatment process is used to remove the contaminant from the wastewater or the sewage and finally convert it into an effluent that can be returned to the water cycle with a minimum impact on the environment or directly reused. So the latter is called water reclamation because treated wastewater can then be used for many other purposes. So actually this wastewater treatment plant, it is the processing of every industrial effluent that go through the process of primary treatment, and after that it will be free from all the toxic metals, and then it can be thrown into a nearby stream, nearby lake or a drain, finally go into the river Arabi. The treatment process takes place in a wastewater treatment plant, often referred to as the Water Resource Facility, WRRF, Water Resource Recovery Facility, or a sewage treatment plant. Though here is a picture of the wastewater treatment plant that has been set up in the somewhere else in the foreign country. I have pasted this picture because in Pakistan primary treatment plant, the picture is already displayed in the previous lecture. So you can have a look if you want data from the Pakistan. So these are all actually the legumes of that primary treatment plant. From here, water comes into the industry, and after mechanical thrashing and manually separating all the solid trified material separately, the liquid will run out in all these legumes one by one, and they have aerators like this one. They, in order to maintain the BOD of all that legume for the 24 hours, and the water is running in each of these legume and is recycled day and night. And when it reaches to the last legume, it will be free of all the toxic heavy metals. Treatment processes like pump and treat is the first step for treating the wastewater or the polluted water. It is a common method for cleaning up groundwater contaminated with a dissolved chemical, including industrial solvent, metal, and fuel oils. So the groundwater is pumped from the wells to an above ground treatment system that removes the contaminants. So this pumping helps to keep the contaminant from reaching drinking water wells, wetland streams, and many other natural resources like this one. Here the water pump is situated, and with the help of this is a unit for treatment of every type of industrial effluent, and with the help of all blower and the activated carbon tower, all the water is pumped here and finally treated here, and ultimately it goes to the groundwater, or it can be easily mixed with the groundwater after this treatment process. Air stripping, it is a method that uses air to remove the contaminant from the water, and this process can effectively remove the chemical that evaporate easily, including fuels and the solvents. So the contaminated water is pumped through a large chamber like as shown in the figure. where it is sprayed over the same time. A fan blows air upward, which causes the chemicals to evaporate out of the water, like this one. Here is the air strippers. So the chemicals are collected at the top of the tank and treated so that they cannot cause further pollution. With the help of air blower, they pump out all these type of chemical at the top, from where they are evaporated, and ultimately gas and air is clean. So this is another process which is commonly used to remove the pollutant from the water, is filtration through the activated carbon filters. So this method can be effectively remove the fuel, polychlorinated carbons and dioxins and many radioactive wastes. So the polluted water is sent through the column of activated carbons, like this one, activated carbons, and the chemicals stick, sob, or to the surface and within the pores of the granules, and the clean water flows through it. Next is called very impressive technology, which is called bioremediation. Bio mean living organism, remediation mean to clean the atmosphere. So it is actually the process which uses microorganisms that are naturally found in the soil to digest the contaminants which are already present in the soil and water, including the chemicals that are found in gas and oil spills. So microorganisms digest the chemical. As you can see into the picture, these are all kind of different microorganisms. These microorganisms, they digest all the chemicals and convert them to the water and the harmless gases like carbon dioxide finally. And these microbes give off carbon dioxide and water after their reduction processes. So in this way they perform the process of treating the water body. Fertilization is another most emerging technology to treat the wastewater treatment plant, wastewater effluent, sludges, solid waste, every type of the waste. As it phytoremediation is a process that uses the roots of the plants and the trees or to remove the pollutants such as metal, pesticides and oil. So from an oil from the soil as well as from the every waste, every kind of or any kind of waste which is used to remove the pollution from the oil, from the soil and from any surface body water, is through the process of using the phytoremediation. The trees can remove contaminants that are deep aquifer because the roots reach much further than those of the small plants. When the roots of the plants take in water and nutrients, they also take in the chemicals and store them in their roots, stem and leaves. So the plants can then convert the chemical into the gases which are released into the air as the plant transpires or breathes. So the chemical can stick or sob to the plant root. In this case, the chemicals are removed from the water or the soil only when the plant is removed. So there are many types of phytoremediation like phytodegradation, phytovolatilization, phytostabilization is the pollutant are mostly immobilized into the soil. Rhizoremediation is with the help of the roots, is the removal of the pollutant, toxic pollutant. Phytostimulation, further degradation of these growing roots by different type of microbes. Phytoextraction is the removal of contaminant from the aerial part like from the inflorescence, from the shoots, from the leaves, from the stems. Last treatment process is called as the chemical oxidation, that uses the oxidants to convert the harmful chemicals such as fuel, solvent, pesticides into the less harmful chemicals such as water and carbon dioxide. The most commonly used oxidants are hydrogen peroxide and potassium permanganate, which are liquid. Like ozone is a gas which can also be used, but it is more difficult to contain that liquid. So what could be the preventive measures in order to control all these types of pollution? Firstly, Keep out the oil, fat, grease from the sink. Like desist from pouring the cooking oil, fat or grease down the kitchen sink. Instead, keep a jar that collect all the fats, grease or oil, then discard into the solid waste bins. Abstain from flushing contaminated liquid, pills, drugs, medication down to the drain. These substances contain scores of toxic chemicals that destroy quality of natural water systems. Instead, use the recommended disposal methods. Reduce the use of all these herbicide, pesticide and fertilizers. Excessive use of all these may lead to create the water pollution in our atmosphere. Then proper sewage treatment and management. Proper sewage treatment is required to limit the amount of toxic substances that normally end up in the water system such as lakes, rivers and oceans. Dispose the trash properly. When trash is not disposed properly, some of the non-degradable products such as diapers, sanitary towels may end up destroying the process of sewage treatment. We should always avoid direct dumping into the water systems. We should desist from disposing rubbish or any other waste product into the lakes, rivers, streams or the oceans. So with this, the topic of sediment pollution has been end up. Here is a list of all the babbling resources and references. Thank you very much.